underground rumor that Conor McGregor is going to return in August and he's going to do it at 170 pounds. Am I a buyer or a seller? I'm in. August does sound right. 170 pounds definitely sounds right. Who's it going to be against? Guys, I think it's going to be against the champion. Based on the evidence that we have, right, because there's a lot of moving parts here. Why is Leon versus Kamaru not booked? Is it because of Kamaru's hand? Is that all it is and there's nothing to see here? I don't know about that. I don't know. I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist on that. I think a little bit matters is what does McGregor do? And if you bring McGregor back and you're doing it at 170, what in the hell are you doing it for? Is that his new weight class? Fine, I'm in. If that's his new weight class, then whatever he does is get him one step closer to what he wants, which is a championship belt, which is Kamaru Usman. Why not just do it now? Who are you going to put Conor with at 170? You're going to grab a top 10 guy if he's going 170. Okay, tell me one top 10 guy at 170 that draws, that sells, that's interesting for you, that's the one that Conor needs. Tell me one guy that you think is viable and a big enough deal to get on the docket with Conor McGregor. You have a problem. There's one guy. His name's Kamaru Usman. I've always been bullish on the idea that if that's what Conor wants, it can happen. He's got the audience that will back him. Dana has never said no about that. Kamaru Usman has never taken that serious, but has said in the vein that it is, yes. Not to mention, Leon versus Usman isn't booked, and as each day goes by, that gets a little bit weirder. It really does. That is the fight that we were told. That is the fight we were promised. That fight was rumored for International Fight Weekend. Both fighters have gone very quiet. Generally, when both fighters go very quiet, it's not because a fight is blowing up behind the scenes. It's because it's done. And they're waiting for the rollout and the announcement. Now, that is your most likely scenario. Right there. Leon's getting the shot. It is with Kamaru. The hand's going to be fine. We're looking for a date. We've already agreed to it in principle, and now we're waiting to fill the audience in. Great. That is for sure your most likely. But that would also be in the absence of having Conor McGregor returning at 170 and asking for the fight. There's no one else for Conor to fight at 170 that would make a level of sense. If you don't think it makes sense that Conor, who is a 55-pounder, moves up to 170 off 2 losses and gets a title fight, fine. It would still make more sense than moving Conor, your biggest draw, to 170 and putting him with a top 10 guy in the division to get him a step closer. And maybe you go, well, Chael, no, it's not about any of those things. It's about Conor getting his feet wet. It's about Conor getting back in there. It's about Conor getting active. This is what this represents. Okay, but there's only one way to do that, which is what has already been done, which is to grab a fellow 55-pounder and just let him have a 15-pound weight allowance. If we're having that conversation, okay, fine, but I will bring to you, that was under the most unique of circumstances. Cowboy Cerrone versus Conor at 170 on January 19th was very unique circumstances in that T-Mobile Arena was not booked. There was not a UFC scheduled for January 19th. There was not a pay-per-view date in place. Conor came back, wanted the match, found himself an opponent, got everybody to agree on the weight class. They then booked the venue. And by the way, sold it out in less than 48 hours, all because of Conor McGregor. But I'm just bringing it to you. That's not the circumstance right now. This is not a, hey, let's hurry up and get this done. This is not, hey, we're in a rush. Hey, something just fell in our lap. I've heard Dana use that expression before. Who did Dana put on the Ultimate Fighter? It was BJ Penn. Dana had other plans for the Ultimate Fighter. Out of nowhere, BJ calls him and says, I want to do it opposite Frank and I want to fight him again. And Dana literally said that. He goes, look, it wasn't my plan. It fell in my lap. I can't turn this down. Great. That's also what happened on January 19th when you saw Cowboy taking on Conor. And the only way Conor's going to fight at 170 in a match that is not a title fight is if you bring up another 55-pounder and you attempt to duplicate it, which in all fairness, none of us will complain. The rules are different. There is something very special when Conor comes to town. The fact that you could book a venue that you weren't planning on playing 2 weeks after a pay-per-view that you advertised to the world, oh, and by the way, do great numbers, shows that different treatment is warranted. I just don't think we have that right now. I don't. I like the August date. I don't have a problem with it. What is Kamaru doing in August? I like the idea that Conor's going to go 170. I don't think he's a 55-pounder anymore. I saw the same pictures that you did where he weighs 190-plus pounds. What's Kamaru doing in August? 170 pounds is red hot right now. We've got a fight that just happened between Chimaev and Burns. We got a fight that's about to happen between Blahal and Vincent Luque. Neither has been named a number one contenders fight in August. What is Kamaru doing? What's the delay in announcing it? It's going to be Kamaru versus Burns. Is it going to be this summer? We get told that all the time. Is it going to be later in the fall? Are we going to wait until winter of 2022? Are we going to let that hand heal? Why does Kamaru not have a fight? Why is that date not booked? It's a fair question. And you wouldn't have the answers either. We're all just detectives. We're all just accountants. We're as good as the information that we're given. If you go and form a decision on information that you did not previously have, you have the right to now make a new decision. I'm light on that. I do think it's Kamaru and it's Leon, and I think I'm a lot closer to the truth by saying that this is already done and the announcement hasn't come out. That's what a smart guy would say. That's what I would say. But there's a conversation, and I don't want to be late to it. There's a conversation previously to the underground picking up a rumor that Connor's coming back specifically in office and specifically at 170 pounds, which many of us have believed anyway. August, Conor, 170. I'll ask you one more time. What's Kamaru Usman doing?